Gina Roberts grew up in an ordinary family. Her father worked as a driver, and her mother was an accountant at a downtown firm. From an early age, Gina didn't stand out much from her peers and felt quite comfortable just being another fish in the sea. But as Gina got older, she started undergoing hormonal changes, leading to rapid weight gain. By the time she graduated from high school and started college, Gina weighed at least 350 pounds and was an outcast among her peers. If her weight gain wasn't enough, Gina quickly became an object of ridicule for all her classmates, who seemed to be holding a competition for the funniest nickname for her. This hurt Gina, and deep down she had always been a kind and sympathetic person. Having gained all that weight, she would spend her days crying, frustrated. The poor young woman was very disappointed with how her life was turning out. Why aren't they laughing at me? Am I any worse than they are? Gina thought, looking at her reflection in the mirror. The woman was well aware that her appearance fell short of what was generally considered to be attractive, and all those heartless people would immediately judge and ostracize her for it. Gina's biggest issues arose when she started looking for a job. Having graduated as the top student of her year, she'd hoped to get a job with prospects of career advancement and good pay. Unfortunately, this was much harder to do than it initially seemed. Receiving rejection after rejection, Gina went from office to office, each time losing hope that she'd ever find a job. This was because the executives of each company didn't want to hire someone who weighed more than which was generally considered normal. However, they'd come up with plausible excuses to reject Gina every single time. Being shunned by potential employers put her through a lot of pain. Gina understood all too well that her failures could be easily attributed to her rapid weight gain. She tried exercising and dieting, but she'd given up every time and never reached the result she desired. "You have no discipline, Gina. You'll never get what you want," said her more successful friend, who already had a husband and a child. Gina only sighed and tried to change the subject in response. It took Gina about a month to find a job. When she was about to give up altogether, she finally struck gold. It happened when Gina was rejected yet again. Struggling to hold back her tears, she started making her way to the exit when she bumped into a tall young man. The stranger was dressed in a business suit, which fit him impeccably. It was obvious that he belonged to the financial elite. "What is it, Howard?" he asked the assistant HR manager. "Mr. Thompson, sir, The man hesitated, struggling to find the right words. But the young man in the business suit already knew what the issue was. Glancing over Gina's resume, Alfred Thompson said, "Howard, I think we'd be missing out on a valuable specialist if we didn't hire Gina. Our company needs a bright mind, not a supermodel. So don't be so quick to reject her candidacy. Give Miss Roberts a chance to prove herself." These words had Gina beaming almost instantly. A cute smile spread across her lips. Gina didn't know it at the time, but she was standing face to face with the owner of the company, who valued intelligence and business acumen over appearance, especially when it came to his employees. With this fortunate break, Gina doubled her energy and eagerly took over her new responsibilities. Late nights at the firm, she pored over financial records and found errors in earlier deals that no one even knew existed. Soon, thanks to her dedication and hard work, Gina became one of the firm's best employees, earning her a spot on the honor board near the CEO's office. Unfortunately, her successes at work had no effect on how her co-workers perceived her. They'd constantly jeer at her behind her back, calling her all sorts of demeaning names. Gina repeatedly caught the mocking glances of managers while working in the office and couldn't stop hearing the snide laughter of the security guards at the gatehouse. Each day, they'd come up with more and more ways to insult her, causing Gina more and more heartache. One day, Gina couldn't stand the mocking anymore. She stormed out of the sales department in the middle of the day and burst into tears in the hallway. Sobbing bitterly, Gina thought back to her childhood years. Back then, her weight was still normal and life seemed so pleasant. A fairy tale almost, in which she played a beautiful princess. Gina was so busy crying her eyes out that she didn't notice the CEO, Alfred Thompson, appearing behind her back. "Gina, why are you crying? Is something wrong?" Alfred asked, worried. "I'm sorry, Mr. Thompson. I just don't have the strength. Fire me, please," muttered the woman through her tears. But Alfred Thompson, being the smart and far-sighted man that he was, knew exactly how to read people and see the very best in them. Instead of judging or criticizing Gina, Alfred asked her to calm down and pull herself together. "Stop paying attention to others, Gina. Believe me, you're a very beautiful young woman with a beautiful soul and a good heart," said Alfred Thompson passionately. A red blush flared across Gina's cheeks after these words, and the feeling of gratitude filled her heart. That day, Alfred recommended that Gina ignored everyone else and gave her the day off. What came as a surprise was the invitation that Alfred extended to Gina before leaving, asking her to have dinner with him at a restaurant. First, Gina thought she might have misheard something, but Alfred's eyes shone with friendliness and sincerity, and there was no reason to doubt his motives. Gina gladly accepted the CEO's offer. Wearing her best clothes, Gina arrived at the restaurant feeling that she could take on the world. Alfred met her at the entrance with a bouquet of dazzling white roses and a sweet smile on his face. It was obvious that Alfred really liked Gina and her outfit. The evening went rather well, and the young couple was left with nothing but pleasant memories of that night. This meeting ended up sparking a series of romantic dates, leading to Alfred and Gina becoming a couple. This news came as a shock to everyone who did business with the CEO. "Alfred Thompson? Dating some fatty?" They'd ask in disbelief. "Why are you ruining your life, Alfred? At 350 pounds, she'd make your life a living hell. You're probably well aware by now that you won't be able to have kids with her," said one of the CEO's closest friends. But Alfred Thompson stubbornly stood his ground and didn't let anyone's opinion sway him. Alfred's heart was filled with feelings he'd never felt before. The most pleasant thing for Alfred was how Gina loved him back with all her heart, reciprocating every bit of the feelings he had for her. 6 months after they met, the couple held a modest wedding, devoid of any excess extravagance or luxury. Part of the reason was that Gina had little confidence in her appearance. She felt that she didn't meet the conventional standards. Alfred, however, didn't seem to care the least bit about it and loved his spouse profoundly. Nevertheless, Gina still wanted to change her life and become someone her husband could be proud of, someone he wouldn't get ridiculed for. Gina also knew that she couldn't have kids with the man she loved, given her current weight and build. So she pulled herself together and set her ambitions on a strict diet and an active workout plan. At first, Gina's hard work was barely noticeable, but about a month later, after she started training, she was pleasantly surprised. For the first time in several years, the woman managed to lose a few dozen pounds. This lifted Gina's spirits so much that she began to work towards her goal with double the energy. In a few months, she lost almost twice as much weight. Alfred Thompson's friends couldn't help but notice just how much prettier his wife was becoming. None of them had any snide comments left to voice about her. Instead, their eyes were now full of envy at the sight of someone else's happiness. Gina's dramatic change in appearance helped her gain respect, and not only at the firm. Yesterday's enemies now yearned for the woman to pay attention to them, to win her over. Gina enjoyed life in a whole new way, no longer subject to mockery and hurtful names. Losing weight made the woman feel happy for the first time in years. "Look how beautiful you are. I always knew it, because I always saw you for who you are on the inside, while others only looked at you from the outside," Alfred said, holding his beloved wife close. A year after the wedding, the Thompson family was hit with even more good news, something the couple had been expecting for a long time. Gina rushed out of the bathroom with tears in her eyes, clutching a positive pregnancy test tightly in her hands. And when the ultrasound showed that the couple was having twins, their happiness knew no bounds. Despite the difficult and premature birth, the babies were healthy and developed just as well as all the other babies. Now that Alfred and Gina finally had kiddos, there was no doubt that they had found the happiness they had dreamed of all those years.